It's official. The history of women's basketball has already changed forever.
9 total points in the game, sets it back from 3, knocks it down.
The WNBA draft class of 2024 promises change. It promises evolution. It promises a transformation to a league that was in need of a makeover. But in particular, there are two players who have stood out above the rest. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are not only two top-level basketball talents, but they also have an influence off the court that has no precedent, at least in the WNBA, because there really is a precedent, and to see it, we have to travel back almost 50 years. The current situation in the best women's league in the world reminds us a little bit of what the NBA was living during the 70s, and the only reason the league got off the ground was because of a rivalry between two players that transcended basketball. But why can Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese save the WNBA? And why is the NBA doomed to fail if this promising rivalry does not live up to the hype? Well, let's talk about it. College basketball fans were the first to notice. That Iowa guard who was torching every college in the US was not normal, and she proved it since her freshman year. But despite her incredible performance in her first two college seasons, Caitlin still wasn't making too many headlines in the media. Like any heroine aspiring to become the savior of women's basketball, she needed a villain to match her legacy. But as luck would have it, there was a player arriving at LSU in 2022 who would soon take on that role. Angel Reese was one of the best forwards in all of college basketball when she came to LSU from Maryland in her junior year. And that's where the duels with Iowa and Caitlin Clark went completely viral. When you watched the games, it seemed like the two athletes hated each other. On every loose ball, on every play, on every possession, both were trying to prove their winning mentality.
Clark shakes Van Lith into the lane, gets fouled by Reese.
Especially in the case of Reese, a player whose attitude has always been a fundamental pillar of her style of expressing herself on the basketball court. Yeah, we could say it's one of her biggest strengths, but the point is that the LSU-Iowa games became a must-see for all college basketball fans across the country. This anticipation grew over time, to the point that even the most casual fans were fully aware of when these two players crossed paths on the hardwood, and that translated into unprecedented viewership numbers. Of the 6 most watched games in women's college basketball history, 4 are games that have featured Caitlin Clark's Iowa, and 2 of those are games that featured Angel Reese's LSU. In other words, the hype that these players have created when they weren't even playing professional basketball is unprecedented in women's sports. Now, as I said, it has precedent in men's basketball. You have to travel back in time to 1979. That year, the NCAA men's basketball final was the most watched in history, with more than 35 million viewers. The final included 2 teams that were getting a lot of attention that season. One was Michigan State, and the other was Indiana State. The 2 teams that included in their roster 2 players that were destined to make basketball history.
Trying to run out that clock now, and here goes Johnson.
Of course, we are talking about Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. The dream of these 2 young stars was to become the NCAA champions, but only one of them could achieve it, because in their senior year, without having achieved it yet, both of these teams faced each other in the most important game in the history of Division I basketball. And that competitiveness that existed between the 2 players who seemed to hate each other caught the attention of all the fans, again, even the most casual ones. It was Magic who won the game, and it was Bird who had to settle for a runner-up finish, which, of course, was not enough for him. But the forward from French Lick knew he would meet Magic again in the NBA. Both players were destined for greatness at the next level as well, but what they didn't know was that the responsibilities were going to be as great as they turned out to be. The NBA had serious problems during the 1970s. First, the big market teams were struggling to make deep runs in the playoffs. A good thing from a competitive standpoint, but not from an economic standpoint, because the fans in these big markets accounted for a large part of the revenues of a league that, at the time, was in dire need of an audience. But that was not the only problem.
Bird fires it, and the Lakers have won in Pat Riley.
Many players have spoken of the fact that cocaine was present in the locker rooms of the teams, as well as on the coach's clipboard. And this knowledge was widespread among fans, who considered the players to be rich guys who only cared about getting high and who didn't really care about basketball. But Bird and Magic put an end to that conception. Their college rivalry carried over to the NBA when both players were drafted by the 2 most iconic franchises in the league's history, the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers. For an entire decade, at least one of them were able to reach the finals. These 2 men were splitting rings as fans were thrilled by this huge rivalry. Bird and Magic were the first to take the NBA beyond the borders of the United States, which would prove critical to its revenue in the future. Now, how is this similar similar to what is happening now in the WNBA? Well, we've seen it before. Angel and Caitlin, like Magic and Bird, have brought college basketball back into the mainstream media. By only their presence, they have made the audience grow exponentially, for the simple reason that no fan wanted to miss the initial moments of the careers of two players who would become iconic. Like Bird, Caitlin didn't get to lift a Division I trophy. Like Magic, Reese did when she won the trophy with LSU in 2023. But the similarities don't end there. Magic and Bird were also pioneers in the economic aspect. In Larry's case, the forward signed the highest rookie contract in basketball league history at that time, worth $650,000 per year. A contract that a visionary like Red Auerbach had no problem offering to a player who seemed generational. In Magic's case, his sponsorships reached record figures. And the same is happening with Caitlin and Reese.
He takes the two and knocks it down.
Both athletes have been pioneers in various NIL deals that have totaled millions of dollars and have grown even more thanks to various sponsorships such as Nike. In fact, Caitlin's contract with the apparel brand is 40 times higher than her annual rookie contract with the WNBA. And just like Bird and Magic, Clark and Reese are making waves in professional basketball right out of the gate. Both players have positioned themselves, partly because of Cameron Brink's injury, as the only contenders for the Rookie of the Year trophy. And it's no wonder. Caitlin is currently the 13th leading scorer in the league with 17.1 points per night, while Reese is 24th with 13.5. But in addition, in her rookie season, Caitlin is leading the WNBA in assists with 8.2 assists per night, while Angel Reese is the second top rebounder in the league with 11.9 rebounds per night, just 1/10 behind the best player in the WNBA, Asia Wilson. With a performance like this, both players have been selected for the All-Star game just a couple of months after being drafted. One thing is certain, neither the Indiana Fever nor the Chicago Sky are contenders to win the title this season, unlike Bird or Magic. But the immediate impact of these two players qualifying their teams for the playoffs bodes very well for both franchises.
6 to shoot, Mitchell driving.
However, the WNBA does not seem to have solved its biggest problem. Thank God, drugs have nothing to do with it, but revenue does. Despite the league's incredible expansion, the WNBA continues to lose money. The NBA, which owns 50% of the league, is responsible for paying this money that the league loses annually. But this season, the losses are estimated at $50 million, according to an article in the Washington Post, a figure that is the result of completely outdated television contracts that do not match the current level of competition. But thanks to Reese and Clark, the next deals the league will get will be much better. And that's the best news women's basketball could get. Caitlin and Angel and Caitlin. They are the saviors of a league that was crying for help. Now all that's left is to enjoy their incredible and promising careers. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more content like this. Don't forget to turn on those notifications so you never miss an upload.